Welcome to another episode of S&M Radio. This episode, we are keeping the, Halloween theme kind of going. We're not talking about another John Carpenter movie or a Rob Zombie movie, of course, but we are keeping the Halloween spirit alive. It is October, and we are this time talking about another Halloween-themed movie, and that is Trick or Treat from 2007. Not Trick or Treat from like 1986 or whatever. We'll get to that one eventually. Shocking. Technically, I guess we could go ahead and say is a foreign horror movie, which I mean, we never talk about those on this show, but
only if they're Canadian.
Exactly. That seems to be the whenever we say foreign up to this point, it's like, oh, do you mean Canadian? Yeah, we mean Canadian. So, Trick or Treat from 2007 is this kind of off the wall. I guess I shouldn't say off the wall, but that's kind of how I feel about it. This little off the wall anthology horror movie, which to me personally, I kind of felt I would say borrowed from the whole like Quentin Tarantino-esque filmmaking model. So when you watch this movie, one of the things is there are a total of 4 different stories that are kind of sort of intertwined with one another. And as you watch the movie doesn't actually flow in a start to finish type format. It kind of bounces around.
Yeah, and also we should go back and say that it is a 2007 film, but it was never officially released into the theaters. They kind of held off and they kept postponing it. So it made its way around a lot of the festivals in 2007, but it wasn't officially released, and it went straight to DVD Blu-ray in 2009.
Trick or Treat kind of falls into that same realm as the movie The Cabin in the Woods did, which actually I think was roughly around the same time frame, maybe a little bit afterwards. Cabin in the Woods had the actor that played Thor, whatever his name is. They filmed the movie, and then all of a sudden Thor came out and Avengers was coming out, and somebody said, oh, wait, hey, we got this movie sitting on a shelf that has that guy in it. Push it out there. And,
he's in that? I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, and this one has Anna Paquin in it for like 4 minutes, 6 minutes or so. I mean, she's like in 3 scenes. And for those of you that are HBO vampire fans, you know that Anna Paquin is from the HBO vampire show True Blood. And so when True Blood was making it big, then somebody said, oh, hey, we have this movie sitting on a shelf over here. Let's push it out. I remember that was what happened with this one, the same thing as what happened with Cabin in the Woods. But that doesn't take anything away from this movie. When I originally saw this movie, it was probably 6 years ago when it first came out. It was one of those things because it was getting a lot of publicity, and there was a lot of chatter about it when it was first coming out, and everybody was like, oh, you got to see this movie. It was all over the forums and all online and this and that. And I watched it expecting something different than what it was. So when I originally saw it, I did not like it. And then when we decided to do this episode a couple of weeks ago, I went back and I rewatched it. And I have to say that I was actually pleasantly surprised. I sat down, went into it with a clear mind, and just gave it a chance and loved it.
Oh, very good. This, like you said, this was one of those movies that they had been talking about for a while, and I remember, going online and all the sites I always visit for upcoming movie news, and they kept bringing it up, and then, and everybody that saw it because it was being put on it was on the festival circuit, and everybody who saw it was like, oh, it's great, it's a great horror anthology type movie. And so I couldn't wait to see it. And so and then, then they would say, oh, it's coming out this year. And then they postponed it. And then, and they kept postponing it. And finally they released it. And I remember I went straight to the, Wally World and ran out to the DVD Blu-ray, section of the store and found it. And I think there were like only 2 copies there. It was weird too, because it was like the day it was released. I went to go get it, and they didn't have it like in the new releases section. It was like off in the, in like the general film area. And so I found it, and there were like maybe 1 or 2 copies there, and I grabbed it. I'm like, okay, I got to go watch this. And I was very, very, very much liked it. I thought it was, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was just a great Halloween feel type horror movie. I'm a big fan of the Creepshow films, and it was like, to me, it was the Creepshow 3 that we never got. I thought it was great.
The story at the beginning, which is the principal of the school, and then there is the story that talks about the school bus massacre, and then there is a surprise party in the woods.
Yes.
And then there is this character throughout the throughout the movie, Sam, who is this, what you think is this little boy wearing a sack over his head. And that's kind of the 4th story, is you're actually kind of introduced to Sam.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything kind of comes together at the end. Like I said, I watched it a couple of weeks ago, and it was one of those things that when I watched it, I was like, oh, this is great. This movie's been out for like 6-8 years.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is one of the better modern horror films that are out there now. I enjoyed all the short stories. The Principal one was good. That was pretty creepy. The werewolf one I thought was great. The thing I loved about the werewolf one was the transformations. It was kind of like a different take, where they kind of shed their skin, their human skin, and like the werewolf was underneath them. I thought that was really cool. And the girl from X-Men, I don't recall her name, and I don't recall the character's name, but she was kind of like
that's Anna Paquin. Yep,
that's her.
Yeah, that's the same one from True Blood. Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought she was great, and then that whole sequence was just, and then the principal kind of gets his, because we find out that the principal is a serial killer. I thought probably my favorite story, which kind of connects pretty well to the end, was the school bus story about the like, I guess there was like the short bus, and all these kids were kind of mentally ill, and there's a real creepy shot of them like in their costumes, and it's Halloween, and well, apparently in the story, like the parents like paid the bus driver to just kind of kill all the kids and get rid of them, because they were like, unwanted and like a embarrassment to the family or whatever, to the families. And so he goes and drives the bus over into a what is it, a quarry, like a rock quarry. And then like the kids, like currently modern day, they go down there to scare this one girl, and they find out like the ghosts of these kids are still down there. I thought that was a really good story.
Going back to the werewolf story, if the fans of this show will remember last year, or I guess earlier this year, I should say, we talked about my top pick for 2015, Wolf Cop, and one of the things I had said from Wolf Cop was the transformations were great, where the skin just like shed off of the body and was just peeled off of the body. This movie has that same sort of transformation scene, except for it goes a little bit different. Instead of like, one of the things from Wolf Cop was, there's a scene in the prison or in the jail cell where he's transforming into the werewolf, and he's got a hold of the prison bars, and it goes back later, and you see like the skin from his arm like hanging from the prison bars. In this movie, though, I mean, they just like grab the hold of the skin on their arm and just like ripped it right off, and the same thing with like their legs and stuff. And I mean,
Yeah,
it was really cool.
that's right. Yeah, yeah, it's a great sequence, and I thought the werewolves were awesome in this film. Kind of reminded me of The Howling. They were like just very vicious looking, and
So as we said before, all 4 stories are kind of connected throughout the thing. As Mark had already said, the principal story is we find out is connected to the surprise party in the woods story. And then there's the bus massacre story in the middle. That one is connected to the Sam episode in a way to whereas... So this character, Sam, he's at this older guy's house who's like this... you're kind of led to believe he's kind of like a military vet or something. And you kind of get this, again, like this whole Quentin Tarantino-esque feel to where as this last story is being told, there's links to the other stories that were told throughout the movie. And then so we come to find out that, Sam actually isn't a little boy. He's this weird, like, pumpkin head freak.
He's like actually he's basically the spirit of Halloween is what they were trying to get across with this character. So they kind of, mix like kind of a scarecrow look, a pumpkin thing, and just like a childlike size and all of that.
You come to find out towards the end of the movie that this guy that Sam is screwing around with in his house, turns out he's actually the bus driver from the bus massacre earlier in the movie. And then that's kind of how the whole thing kind of closes out. This guy kind of beats off Sam, or I shouldn't say beats Sam. His doorbell rings and he's going to go give the trick-or-treaters candy, and he opens the door, and then it's all the kids from the school bus.
Yeah, that is a great ending. That is all. Yeah, and that is Brian Cox too. And for those of you who are familiar with that actor, he is the original Hannibal Lecter from Manhunter. Yeah, it's a Trick or Treat is a great movie. Definitely, it's one of those movies. Like every October, I have this. I have to see there's certain movies I have to watch. For me, it's always going to be obviously John Carpenter's Halloween, and then and Halloween 2. Sometimes I'll toss in another sequel here and there, but those Halloween and Halloween 2, I always watch those every October. And Trick or Treat has made the cut. That's one of those movies now that I've kind of put in my annual October viewing, just because it really captures the feel, the season, and just everything. The trick or treating, the jack-o'-lanterns, the costumes, the candy, and all that stuff, and just kind of like totally captures that feeling of you're sitting back and watching your scary movies on October, and what better movie to watch than Trick or Treat?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like I said, I watched it years ago, and for reasons that I still don't understand, I did not enjoy it. And
I know, I was really surprised by that. I remember you disliked it quite a bit, actually.
And I don't remember why. And then when we started talking about this, we first talked about this episode probably 3-4 months ago, and I said, all right, so we're going to do Halloween thing, which we did, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about a movie that I hate and you love. And you went, oh, we're doing Trick or Treat. And I said, yeah.
Yeah, the thing about this movie, too, though, that is kind of shocking is that it does depict at least 2 children being the victims. And it's actually, I think, I've never really seen it written anywhere that was the reason why this movie was delayed so long, but I have a kind of a sneaking suspicion that probably had something to do with why it was never released in theaters. Like we talked about, the first story in this anthology is The Principal, and it's basically about a serial killer principal, and he poisons this kid and brings him into his house, and then eventually decapitates him. I mean, you don't see the decapitation, but you do see the kid's head, which is pretty that's pretty strong. That's pretty hardcore. And then like he has like he buries his victims in his backyard, and like one of them is like wrapped up in a plastic bag and is still alive, and he's like kind of trying to get the victim to shut up, and he's like jabbing a shovel at him. And it's pretty intense. Like when you think about it, like you're, holy crap, that's a kid he's like doing that to. So it's I think that probably had a lot to do with why this movie wasn't released theatrically, because I mean, for the most part, everybody frowns at that, which it makes sense because nobody wants to see kids get hurt. But so that's kind of an interesting aspect to the story.
Yeah, the one thing with that first story, which you were just talking about, is that those scenes are actually almost comical, and I think that they're meant to be, because I know, especially with the boy getting poisoned, it's one of these things where he's a bigger kid, and he's eating too much candy, and then he gets an upset stomach, and then he just like is vomiting his guts out. But it's not like, it's one of those things when you're watching, you're not like, oh, you're right. Like, oh, look at he's puking his guts out. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's done pretty comical. Yeah, you're right. It actually, it's funny. This movie actually made me want to kind of go back and revisit some of those old Tales from the Crypt.
Oh, Tales from the Crypt, yeah, with the Crypt Keeper, sure.
Crypt Keeper, yeah, and find some of those old comics that were out back then, because a lot of those were kind of tongue in cheek, kind of humorous, but humorous horror. So that's kind of the feel of this film, and it's this one like and going back to as well. The first two Creepshow movies were probably some of the best anthology films to date, from at least from my recollection. Those movies are great. That's like just classic horror right there, in my opinion. And they did actually, the company who owned Creepshow had to sell the rights to the films, and some crappy low budget company bought it, and they ended up doing a part 3, which was absolutely terrible. And it just doesn't fit with those first two. It doesn't even belong with that. It shouldn't have the name Creepshow 3. So I always put Trick or Treat as kind of like that third movie in the trilogy in terms of anthology horror. It's just, it really kind of holds up with those movies, in my opinion.
The other movie that always gets labeled as Creepshow 3 is Tales from the Dark Side, if you remember.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I don't remember why that gets labeled that way, but I know it does.
Yeah, you actually introduced me to Creepshow and Creepshow 2. I remember. Yeah. You got the VHS tapes back in the day and bringing them over, and like the first time I ever saw them was with you.
Yeah, my grandma bought me Creepshow 1. I remember that. I don't know why I was into those, but I was. I do remember that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I remember you bringing 2 over as well. And I remember like you brought those both over like after school. We would watch them at my place.
The Raft is such a good story,
isn't it? And that is a great story. We got to do a Creepshow show sometime.
We have some exciting news for everybody out there in podcasting world.
Ooh.
We are in the process of joining forces with the good folks over at the IBWIP podcast compound. And my good buddy Blake Clayton is actually in the process of creating a podcasting network.
Does this mean we're going to like make a ton of money now?
Oh yeah. Tons, awesome. Tons and tons of money.
So I can quit my day job finally?
Yes, there is so much money in podcasting that you guys wouldn't. If you're not a celebrity and you're a podcaster, there is so much money in it. It's crazy.
Well, I'm going to put my 2 weeks notice in this next week.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Blake is in the process of creating a new podcasting network. It's going to be called Fakata Comedy Funhouse. S&M Radio is going to be one of the featured shows. Initially, there's going to be about 5 different shows featured on the network, so you guys could be able to get your fill of podcasting material throughout the week. And there's going to be some new shows. There's going to be some old shows. There's going to be S&M Radio. It's going to be IBWIP. There will also be a couple of new shows that are going to be featured on there as well. But anyway, to get everything up and running off the ground, as they say, we are doing a GoFundMe to raise the initial startup costs for this. So I will post a link to the GoFundMe in the show notes. So go ahead and follow the link, go out there and, throw a buck at it, throw $2 at it. If you're feeling really gracious, throw $100 at it. Every little bit counts, and help us get the new podcasting network off the ground. Help us get some equipment that we're going to need for some of the newer stuff as well. Fakata Comedy Funhouse is the name of the network. The Trick or Treat movie, me and Mark both give it, I'd say, a solid thumbs up.
Oh, big time.
So we're going to go ahead and keep the Halloween fun rolling. We got we might actually get 2 more shows in this month yet. I mean, it's still only, we're recording this like on the 11th. So we have plenty of time in October to get a couple of more shows out. We have, our next show was in line for sure. I won't give too much away other than saying that it will be another one of our tribute shows, and it's going to be a female that we're basing it off of, and she has a couple of pretty big things that she's added to the genre.
Yes, she does. 2 very big things.
That's the worst segue or worst plug ever.
And yeah, but those 2 big things have really contributed quite a bit to the whole genre and the Halloween season and everything. I can't imagine, thinking about Halloween without those 2 things. So I think you'll know who it is.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Again, make sure to go to the GoFundMe page and drop a couple bucks. $1, $20, $50. There's some good rewards out there, and you're helping a good cause. And we're also giving some money also to charity as well.
Go watch Trick or Treat. It's worth your viewing pleasure. And put it on your regular schedule along with John Carpenter's Halloween, and of course, it's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. Make sure to stock up on your candy.